The wreckage stretched across the canyon floor like broken teeth. Darren Cole picked his way through the debris field, scanning for salvage worth the 3-day trek from New Meridian. His suit's radiation counter clicked lazily in the thin atmosphere of Cathther Prime, a rhythm he had grown accustomed to over 5 years as a frontier scavenger. That's when he heard it. A sound that didn't belong among twisted metal and shattered stone. A weak, keening cry that raised the hair on his neck. Darren found them huddled in the shadow of what had once been a Katherine patrol ship. 3 cubs, their obsidian fur matted with dust and dried blood, pressed against the cooling body of their mother. The adult Katherine lay sprawled across the ground, 6 limbs twisted at unnatural angles, muzzle frozen in a final snarl of defiance. The ship's crash had killed her instantly, but somehow her young had survived. The largest cub lifted its head as Darren approached. For eyes, glowing faint amber, fixed on him with fear and desperate hunger. It couldn't have been more than 3 standard months old. Yet its jaws already bore the serrated teeth that made Cather the apex predators of 12 systems. The Galactic Council had deemed them too dangerous for standard diplomatic contact. Too aggressive, too violent, too alien. Darren had seen Katherine warriors in combat, witnessed footage of border war raids and the devastation they left behind. Every instinct screamed at him to back away, to leave the cubs to the fate that had claimed their mother. Instead, he knelt and unsealed his emergency rations. The eldest cub tensed as he extended a protein bar. Its siblings whimpered behind it, too weak even to lift their heads. Darren kept his movements slow, deliberate, speaking in the low, calm tones he once used with feral dogs back on Earth. "Easy now. I'm not going to hurt you." The cub's nostrils flared, scenting the food. Hunger warred with instinct. Finally, survival won. It crept forward on unsteady legs, snatched the bar, and retreated to share it with its siblings. For the next hour, Darren coaxed them to eat, offered water from his canteen, and checked for injuries. The youngest had a fractured foreleg. The middle cub showed signs of severe dehydration. The eldest, the one who first faced him, was relatively unharmed, just starved and exhausted. He should have left them. Reported the find to the nearest Galactic Authority outpost. Katherine cubs were the clan's responsibility, and interfering with their social structures was strictly prohibited. But looking at those desperate faces, Darren couldn't walk away. He had lost his own family in the Proxima Station collapse 6 years ago. He knew what it meant to be alone, abandoned by a universe that didn't care if you lived or died. He rigged a carrier from salvaged cargo netting and loaded the cubs into it, ignoring their weak protests. The journey back to his settlement would take 3 days on foot, and he had no guarantee they'd survive. But he would try. By the second day, the eldest cub had stopped struggling. It watched Darren with intelligent, unsettling eyes as he made camp each night, rationed supplies to feed them, and sang old Earth songs to keep them calm through the cold desert nights. On the 3rd morning, Darren woke to find the cub pressed against his side for warmth. Something shifted between them. New Meridian's makeshift medical center wasn't equipped for Katherine physiology, but Doc Rashid did her best. She set the youngest cub's leg, administered fluids, and handed Darren enough supplements to sustain them for a month. "You know this is insane, right?" she said, watching the cubs devour their meal. "When they grow up, they'll be apex predators. 200 kilos of muscle, fang, and claw. They could tear you apart without thinking." "Maybe," Darren replied, "or maybe they'll remember who fed them when they were starving." Word spread quickly. Within a week, Darren received a transmission from the clan, a static-filled message in broken Galactic Standard, demanding the location of their lost kin. The Katherine delegation arrived like a storm. 12 warriors in powered armor, gleaming with war honors, descended on New Meridian with the authority of a species that had never known defeat. Their clan leader, a scarred veteran named Rakis, stood nearly 3 meters tall, radiating barely contained violence. "You kept our young alive," Rakis growled, translator struggling with the subsonic harmonics of his voice. "Why?" Because they needed help," Darren said, meeting his gaze without flinching. "Leaving them to die would have been wrong." The warriors exchanged unreadable glances. Then Rakis did something unexpected. He knelt, bringing his massive head level with Darren's. "Our laws are ancient, our ways carved in stone and starfire. We do not forget debts. We do not abandon those who honor our blood." He placed a clawed hand over his chest. "You fed our cubs with your own provisions, carried them across the wasteland, gave them life when death had claimed them." The eldest cub, The one who had watched Darren with such intensity, padded forward. It pressed its muzzle against his hand, then turned to Rakiz and made a series of complex chirps and growls. The eldest is called Veza, Rakiz said slowly. He has spoken before the clan. He names you Thorikin, Bloodkin, one who shares our hunt, our den, our honor. No outsider had ever been granted this title. It meant Darren was Katherine in all ways that mattered. Their enemies were his enemies. Their victories his victories. Their cubs would know his name in songs of valor. Darren looked down at Veza, the cub he had carried across the desert, and felt something catch in his throat. He had lost a family once, never expecting to find another. I accept, he whispered. The warriors roared their approval, shaking the settlement's foundations. Rakiz gripped Darren's shoulder with surprising gentleness. The galaxy thinks us savage. They fear our strength, our ferocity. But they do not understand that we honor those who show courage, compassion, and strength of spirit. You are small, human, but your heart hunts with the fury of a clan lord. He bared his teeth in what might have been a smile. Welcome to Clan Rakiz, Darren Cole. May your enemies know terror, and your kin know pride. As the warriors prepared to depart, Veza remained at Darren's side. The cub would eventually return to the clan, but for now he stayed close to the human who had saved him. Darren watched the ships lift off into Cathther Prime's crimson sky and allowed himself a small smile. He had come looking for salvage. Instead, he had found something infinitely more valuable. A family forged not in blood, but in the simple act of refusing to walk away when someone needed help. And in a galaxy that too often rewarded cruelty and indifference, that made all the difference. Please follow my channel for more videos. One click from you can change my life.